Fox Sports NFL analyst. Let's start with this, Michael. You were in Philadelphia for half a decade.
Yeah.
That town loves their winners. They will support you. You and Jalen Hurts are different players, but there are similarities. You move well. You can also throw a pretty deep ball. So I'm watching them play, and I think we're all in our business reluctant to go, that's the best team in football. But Jacksonville has got a great front seven.
Yep.
And they didn't get their hands on Jalen Hurts much. I buy Philly.
I mean, I'm bought in too. I've been bought in since about week 2. And it's because the way they're jailing right now, especially up front, the offensive line is playing amazing. And yesterday, to see Miles Sanders step in and rush for over 150 yards, I think that was the final piece to the puzzle.
Yes.
And it's a lot to build on in regards to where Jalen Hurts can go, Miles Sanders, A.J. Brown, the entire offense. And with the defense coming along, it just seems like, they're finding their niche early. They look like they're in mid-season form. And I respect what they're doing right now. And they're putting it in the hands of Jalen Hurts, but they also allowing him to play freely.
By the way, they have developed a running game in the second year with Nick Sirianni as a coach. Yeah. Buffalo has a defensive coach. 6 years, they still can't develop a running game. So this is a great example of, I think your point, Miles Sanders is the final piece.
Right.
So they can run the ball, control the clock, and Jalen doesn't have to take hits. Right. Josh Allen, if he's not running the ball, they don't run the ball. So you have to develop. Did you ever have a great running game?
Fortunately for me, I've always had a great running game, whether in Philly or in Atlanta. And if I didn't, I instantly felt the pressure of having to do more.
You did.
Yeah. And
see, that's the problem.
Yeah, and if you look at the teams around the league that won yesterday, most of them ran the ball effective. Most of them ran for over 125 yards. Kansas City, Green Bay, Philly, they all rushed for over 150 yards or somewhere around that ballpark number, and they won the game convincingly.
It's hard for me to sometimes tell the difference between a good coach and a great coach. I don't know if Zach Taylor is going to be a great coach. I think he's a good coach.
Okay.
But I can see not working. I could see Ben McAdoo with the New York Giants and go, that ain't working. Right. Or Steve Wilkes in Arizona. I was like, it's not working.
Right.
So I'm watching Nathaniel Hackett, and here's my issue. Whether I think you're a great coach or not, take Robert Saleh with the Jets. He's got an identity.
Yeah.
Big energy. Tough guy. Whether it works, he's got an identity. I watch Denver's offense now.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are.
Oh, man, Colin, I mean, just
do you think Russell's washed?
A lot of idle football. It's like they want to have an identity of running the football, but also they want to let Russell do his thing. And it's like they stuck in between, how do we maximize what we can get out of our offense? And I think ultimately it starts with Russell. And he's going to be multidimensional within the offense. I think it's key to get the ground game going, but he does have some weapons around him. He has some receivers, and he has a decent tight end. He has some guys that can play, but it's like, what is this offense really going to be at the end of the day? Or by the time the third quarter comes, we know what to expect. We know Russell cooking or they running the ball effectively. And we're just not getting that.
So he threw 2 beautiful deep balls yesterday. He led them in rushing. I don't think he's washed, and the reason I don't is because his 3 best years were 2018, 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
And even last year when he hurt his finger, he was good at the end. I don't think he's washed. I've seen him recently, 18 months ago, be dominant.
Yeah.
Do you think he's lost a step?
I think he's aging. And I watch him really, really close, and just his mannerisms, the way he moved, the way he gets outside of the pocket, all the things that we were accustomed to seeing Russell do in Seattle when he was at the height of his career, at his pinnacle. And it's a step slower, because, like I say, I'm watching closely, and it's not the same, spin out of the pocket and maneuver the pocket and make 3 or 4 guys miss. It's not looking heroic like it used to be, and that's okay. With time, as you age, you're not going to do the same things effectively. And now he needs a little bit more. Now he needs a running game. Now he needs a receiver that he can rely on. Now he needs some turnovers on defense and those subtle things that happen that can help change the course of the game. And he's just going to need help. It's not going to be easy for him in Denver. It's going to be a long road to success for him.
Okay, so you had different styles, but there are some similarities. When did you know, because Russell's now getting early 30s, did you notice, Mike, that you couldn't outrun that whip linebacker? You could. I mean, what was the age where you were like, I've gotten hit in the hips too many times.
It was around the age of 30, 31 where, and it's the post-game effect. It's Monday and Tuesday trying to get your body ready to go on Wednesday and Thursday for practice and then ready for a game on Sunday. And, you get to a point where mentally you're like, all right, today I'm going to go out and I'm just going to try to pass it. I'm not trying to move around a lot. I'm trying to, I'm going to work the pocket and I'm going to be a pro, the consummate pro. But I'm trying to limit the hits and the amount of pounding that I'm taking. And unfortunately, in the National Football League, it's just not going to happen. You're going to get hit. You might get sacked 7 times. You might get pressured and hurried 10 to 15 times. You can't control that. And so it starts to take a toll on your mental and on your psyche. And, you got to find a way to fix it quickly or else you start to lose interest.
Yeah. Michael Vick joining us. So I want to talk, and I don't think this is a great team, but I will say this. Give me your interpretation of Zach Wilson of the Jets, because I thought he had a great fourth quarter. Very encouraging.
I've always been a big fan of Zach. I think we talked about it a couple years ago when he was coming out. I think he has a tremendous upside. I think he's obviously yet to hit his ceiling, but
good arm
talent. I like the way he moves around. I like his maneuverability. I think he has a great feel for the game. Having a chance to be around Joe Flacco is going to be a key to his success. It's going to be a great key to his success. Yeah, to just have a guy in front of you that's a veteran or behind you who's just giving you that input on a day-to-day basis. I think about Geno Smith and him spending time with Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers, and now he's starting to blossom into a quarterback that we know he could be 10 years later. That's because he's had the tutelage, he's had a general understanding of what it takes to play the position. And I think just in a short amount of time for Zach Wilson, having a chance to watch Joe, finding the love for the game again, because he's a young player. And, sometimes when you have injuries and things get snatched away from you quick, you start to appreciate that position. And when you get back in there, you're like, I'm going to put forth the best effort, and I'm going to make sure I give it everything I got when I get back out there. And I'm going to be on top of my game, and I'm going to win games. That's his attitude now.
I've said this about people like Baker Mayfield, that quarterback's very unique. I don't want you to be a wildly emotional player. Is that you got to just forget your last interception. Yeah. And that doesn't mean you're not emotional, but you've got to be a little bit even keel.
You got to care. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But you gotta be. Yeah.
Here, is this a fair knock? Lamar Jackson's a very emotional player.
Yeah.
And I've started to notice something a little bit. If he has a bad pick, he gets really down on himself. Yeah. He starts to try too hard to make something happen.
Yeah.
And again, it's correctable, but he's a very emotional. He'll pound his fist on. And is it a fair criticism that sometimes, go back to your career, when you're emotional, what happens is one bad series becomes a second, a third, and a fourth. That sometimes, I always thought Andrew Luck's greatest talent, he just got over stuff. Matt Stafford just gets over stuff.
Tom Brady just gets over stuff.
Pick six next series. Just
keep it moving. And, I've been a guy who has sometimes struggled in that area because I care so much. Lamar, he wears emotions on his sleeve because he cares so much, and the burden is on them. And it's a real thing of being the guy. Like, he's the guy. And when you take on that responsibility and those pressures, you adding some unwarranted pressure that you don't really need. And that's why you got 10 other players around you to help you become or be. Every week when you win games, it's not because of you. It's because of the talent around you.
Right.
So don't beat yourself up about it. You got to go to the sideline. You got to reevaluate, and you got to figure out what works. And I think Lamar he's
still young.
He's so young, and he loves to win, and he wants to obtain so many things that we all want, whether it's money, whether it's winning a championship, all those things are great. But, when you're going through the motions and when you're going through this process and playing the quarterback position, take time to evaluate yourself and don't be so hard on yourself, and know that it's all about the next play. It's all about the next weekend. You're going to get another shot to go at it again. Just learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, no, I think it's really correctable, but I think we forget this. Lamar came out. He was young.
Yeah.
He was younger a year
raw.
later. He was MVP, and there were guys coming into the league that were older than him.
Yeah, he was young and raw.
Yeah, and when you're young, I can say this with a lot of kids, younger people have a lot of emotions. Yeah. A bad day becomes a bad 3 days, becomes a bad week. But I do see he kind of gets into these. You can see the body language, and I think he'll get over it. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.